I guess I need to make two announcements before we proceed. One, we have to be honest about what this is, and this is from the Daily Wire. I just don't think it would be proper if I just reacted to something and it did come from, frankly, the KKK or Church of Scientology. I've always maintained a rule in the channel that I don't let the politics of this or that affect my judgment 90% of the time. But we have to be honest about the source. So this is coming from the Daily Wire. So be forewarned. And the next one is to some of the subscribers who I know really tune in for certain kind of content, like the true crime stuff or celebrity stuff. I will still do that, but I always did cover fantasy on this channel. That was literally the origins of the channel, so I know some people will not dig it. I can only give it a chance, but I really do need to become more normal with fantasy content. So apologies, but I don't care. I need to get back to that. So that's going to be a mainstay of the channel. Like it or not, that's going to be here. All right, so let's get into the cycle of the Pendragon Merlin Daily Wire Game of Thrones. How was it? Well, they're calling this a trailer, but it does seem more like a teaser. So I'm like, okay, fine. So what are we getting? Well, trying to be the fairest. I guess that there are these two sides. I don't know who the sides are. They don't really say. So there's going to be two major factions, though they say there's so many kings, but I guess two major factions. One of them may have Merlin, the wizard. This is from a fantasy series, so I've never heard of this guy. Never heard of the Pendrago. Never heard of Lawhead. I'm not trying to attack this guy because and to be fair, even when Wheel of Time was mentioned, I'm like, what the hell's a Wheel of Time? But Wheel of Time, it's all over the place. If you at least go to a few bookstores, you're gonna see it, even before the TV show. But the Pendrago, I never heard of it. So yes, it is about Merlin, Excalibur. It's pretty obvious what this is. So one side may have Merlon, although allegedly Merlon died a while ago, and the other side will not have Merlon. What are they gonna do? And the trailer was oddly fixated on this blonde girl, and I guess she's like their Wonder Woman because she's like leaping and going up and down. She's the queenie. Everything hangs on her, but the 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 colon thing is it's the rise of Merlon, right? Merlon is returning. It's Merlon forever. It's Merlon and Robin. So it's like will it be focused on Merlon or the blonde girl? Is the blonde girl Merlon? Is Merlon doing shapeshifting? I don't know. And for those who will ask, does Brett Cooper show up? Yes, she's in one shot. I was wondering, were they going to cut her because of basically she was a big host on the Daily Wire. They let her go. That's a nice way of saying they fired her, and she doesn't look good. Now I know I'm going to lose some woke subscriber. I actually think Brett Cooper. I'm not being ironic. I think she's actually pretty good looking. She's pretty sexy. But she's annoying as hell. I'll also say that. But I do think she has a star presence and like screen presence. But and it's funny, I saw the behind the scenes in other places. She actually looked decent. But here she's like on a horse and it's going so fast. They don't really film her at a good angle, so she looks kind of ugly. So the problem here is it's fine if you have this ambition to do this kind of production, but this looks really, really bad. I mean, really, really bad. And let me just say, I get really annoyed for people who don't really know film or television production. A lot of people are like, wow, this looks really good. It looks really good for a cheap company. However, the Daily Wire allegedly has money, but they really, really scaled back. I mean, these costumes, the special effects, even the title, it is all very, very cheap. Now, that is not saying the show is entirely terrible, but that's not a good look. Now, how bad is it? Well, Wheel of Time also looked kind of cheap, at least in season one. I mean, they were really, really rough. I mean, some of the costumes even there were like, I mean, again, yeah, I know it's for the peasants and for the ordinary people, but it looked really terrible. However, for the most part, Wheel of Time maintained a certain standard. right? And that's a show everyone likes to beat up on. This one is far below that. It is far below that. So it is very, very basic with the cameras, with the costumes. So just as a visual feast, there's not much here. And what about the acting or performances? It's just very, very bland, very plain. And I just find it a little hilarious that you have Ben Shapiro and those people going on the anti woke tirades and the girl boss and the feminisms, and literally they're leading with a strong female woman. I was actually pretty shocked how much this blonde woman is prominent throughout the whole thing. I'm like, whoa, that's a lot. But I did find it hilarious. Like, there's this one scene with a blonde woman, and clearly this is very explicit, and that's fine. You know, all shows are political. I don't care. There are like these windows in the shape of crosses. That's pretty obvious what they're implying. I just find the whole thing hilarious that a right wing Zionist Jew nationalist like Ben Shapiro is trying to pump Christian propaganda using, oh my God, using the King Arthur myth. The whole thing just looks ludicrous, sounds ludicrous. But I want to be fair to Merlin and the law guys, so I'm going to bone up on their books and I will see, is this actually even in the books? It just feels very plain. And yeah, the soundtrack, I'm like, oh my lord, everything is so basic. Again, it's the Daily Wire. They can't afford Zack Snyder or Hans Zimmer. I get that. I understand. You got to start small, right? And I don't hate Blumhouse, but they're dealing with the same problem when they're way too cheap. I get it. You got to work with a certain model. Do it cheap, make a lot of money. You can still make it cheap and make it look really, really good. And there are, I'm going to say myself, there are talented people that can do that. Even when you don't have the most amount of money, you get a really good script writer, you get a really good cinematographer. There are people who are really good who will work at a very good price. They didn't do that. And they are doing a lot of ideological cast because Brett Cooper is okay as an actress. He's not terrible, but she's not going to win any Oscars. But again, being absolutely fair, this looks way, way better than that Gina Carano. Yeah, I actually submitted myself to that insane garbage. I will probably do more on that on the other channels. Become a channel member. I'll do some reviews there because that thing was such a parody. I was like, holy cow, this thing looks terrible. But this looks really, really bad. But not like black people bad, like, oh, it's kind of cool. No, it's not that kind of bad. But I guess if Gina Carano was terrible, which it was, this is a massive improvement, but they're not even getting to mediocre. It is still very below average. I mean, you really would think this is a parody or this is some woke leftist pretending this is the Daily Wire. It's like, no, this is the official Daily Wire. And this thing was so anticipated for years and years. Like, the Pendragon is coming. And they have put so many eggs in this basket. This will be their Game of Thrones. And it's like, no, no. Even Game of Thrones at its worst had much better acting, way better production value, costumes. Again, I can criticize House of the Dragon, Game of Thrones. Like, they just do stuff that are kind of flashy tricks. No doubt about that. And Duncan Egg, to be fair, also looked really cheap too. That looked really cheap. But I criticized that as well. So, okay, it's fine. But even that still looks slightly better than this. And I will give them points because the beginning is not visually alluring, but I'm guessing that's intentional because they're doing different kind of shots, wide shots. That's fine. It's a different style, but yeah, it's very plain. It is very plain. Even the stunts, they're like just whatever, swinging wildly with the swords. It's like really, you have to go to your strengths. If you're not going to have this, this, and this, like Wheel of Time, swords fights were fine, but they weren't like great. Concentrate on that. Do something better than that. But like, nope. Here it's this like way below the level of most fantasy shows. So yeah, I'm gonna have to give this a very severe like 4.75 out of 10. It's only the trailer, but it does not bode well.